Latinos in clinical research community. We are today with our special guest, Javier Segura. He is a clinical data coordinator from Mexico, right?
That's right.
So let's start how you ended up working in clinical research.
Hi, everyone. I'm Javier. Um, I hold a bachelor's degree in pharmaceutical chemistry. And during my college years, I spent a lot of time working biotechnology projects, mostly basic research. But after I finished my college, I got hired by a tech startup to work with chatbots. There are these automated data collection tools that, in that case, help us recruit staff for companies throughout Mexico in businesses like retail, big cinema franchises, logistics like DHL, Stafeta, and all these huge brands in the industry. And after a year working in that field, I decided to start a master's in life science informatics. I went to Germany and Vienna because I got admitted in programs there. And while I was in Vienna, I attended a symposium on small RNAs where I met a researcher from Ukraine, and she's called Katerina Penska. And we started a conversation and add us on Facebook, on our social media. And months later, I returned to my country and browsing on Facebook, just she popped up with a post telling that a company in Slovakia was looking for a clinical data coordinator. So I wrote the data manager of that company, and that's how I end up in clinical data management. I think they found really interesting the fact that I have the life science background combined with this IT related background as well. So at that moment, I didn't know, but actually this experience that seemed like unrelated with chatbots and working in an HR 3.0 company end up being a really good background to um, how do you say, to bring something to the table in clinical data management. Actually, I didn't knew much about clinical data management when I started. I followed dance content for a while about the CRA Academy and about monitoring activities, but I didn't realize the amount of IT infrastructure required to actually conduct the trials.
Yeah, that's what brought my attention in your LinkedIn, because it's not very usual that somebody starts in data management in research, and especially because your background in science. And then the thing I think is many people don't know that besides being a clinical research coordinator, a doctor, a CRA, a monitor, there are much more out there in clinical trials. um, I always mention this to Dan, and it's basically that any career that you can think of, we have it in research. Like, for example, if you like marketing, we have it in research. If you like, I mean, things that you will think that are not related, like, or for example,
IT.
um, IT, obviously, project management. I mean, you name it, we pretty much have it all. And then this industry offers so much more. Um, I think it's very interesting, and it's also fascinating because you keep on learning all the time. It's like every time you change a project, you learn something new. Um,
Yeah,
and I would
definitely.
like to mention that to the world that research have everything.
Yeah, actually, from HR to I don't know, accountants and administrators, and all these professionals are really useful since we are organizations that have um, to take care of legal manners, of financial manners. So there's a lot of room to a lot of people to collaborate.
Awesome.
Yep, and actually,
I actually
it's
wanted to talk about your pharmaceutical chemistry and biotechnology background at the UNAM, correct? Universidad del México.
no, I did my degree in Universidad del Valle de Mexico. It's
Mhm.
UVM, and I worked sometime in for the military schools here in Mexico City. The first was the um, military school for health graduates, and then the military school of medicine. In the
Mhm.
first, I was a research assistant performing cell cultures and immunostaining and immunofluorescence assays to evaluate breast cancer tissues and the presence of NK cells to correlate the presence of these kind of immune cells uh, with the aggressivity of the cancer or the phenotype of the cancer. There on, I went to UNAM. There I went to the Institute of Chemistry. I did molecular cloning and recombinant protein expression for my undergrad thesis. And the idea there was to actually generate a synthetic a polymer protein polymers or protein-based polymers to generate this DNA nanostructure with a doctor named Armando Hernandez Garcia. He did his PhD and postdoc on this bio nanotechnology field, and he's building these virus-like particles um, to be developed like drug delivery methods and vaccine development.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's
Something I
amazing.
did want to mention, just because we typically, for the most part, other than maybe once or twice, Monica, and we're trying to most definitely, get more access to interview researchers, in Mexico and South America, because we're all over, right? And we're Latinos in clinical research, so we want to make sure we reach out to everybody all over. How is research in this situation where you're in Mexico City? Now in the US, everybody has an idea because we have, the sponsors here, we have the headquarters and all of that. But how would you say, for people that have never been to Mexico or Mexico City, how would you describe, I guess you say the climate of research over there?
Well, I think there's a lot of prevalence on basic research, especially in universities. I don't know much about actual clinical research conducted in universities, but there's a lot of CROs, really big CROs here, like Covance, Seniors, Health,
Mm.
IQVIA, and all these huge CROs that I think have a global presence.
Mhm.
So I think most of the people I studied with end up working with CROs, either on clinical operations or pharmacovigilance, or I I think I have a friend as well in project management as well. So yeah, I think these companies have like the biggest market share. I think it's called the biggest presence in this field. But as well, there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies like Eli Lilly, Bayer, Roche, and all this. huge pharmaceutical companies. So in that sense, I think there's plenty of opportunity. Um, Actually, after I spent a year here in San Luis. I start receiving offers from seniors and and Cobans, and I think Cognizant.
Mhm.
But to be honest, I enjoy the way I working with San Luis, since it's a home-based, fully remote position. It gives me a lot of liberty to manage my time in the way I find more effective, and that way I can spend perhaps most of my time studying and preparing myself to perhaps pursuing a postgraduate program. At the
Right.
same time, um, I can have these like side hustles here with my community. Right now, I with with some friends are like building these science club where we provide training and mentorship to students here in our city,
Wow.
and bring some social initiatives to them, uh, to bring science to people that have a less advantageous position, like children's in orphanage.
Wow.
We have bring these science lessons to children here in communities that perhaps aren't uh, have like a really hard time getting access to scientific content or education of any uh, scientific or technological topics. So that's what I enjoy about being data management, about working remotely, because I don't have to be in an office from 9 to 5. And I mean, I can work from wherever I want. I could go ahead and move to Argentina or move to República Dominicana, or wherever I find it more appropriate, and do my work wherever I am. So that's what I
Awesome.
enjoy of it.
That's
That's
great.
really
And I
great.
think that's something that the clinical research industry is offering now a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, and you, what you're doing with, you know, your colleagues, it's very admirable. It's amazing, and we
yeah.
agree with that. We, you know, part of wanting to do is Latinos in clinical research. I think we're one of the only organizations. I mean, don't quote me on it, but that we don't charge our members. We want to provide these resources for free because we are aware. I mean, I came from Rio Grande, and there's hardly any, you know, resources on clinical research down there, and you know, so we really want to give these resources, this knowledge, you know, these webinars and these videos to people for free. So, you know, also feel free to utilize our website. We'll be uploading videos in Spanish very soon. It's a project we're working on at the moment. But yeah, you know, that's really amazing work that y'all are doing. Thank you so much for going above and beyond for the community.
No, it's a real pleasure. I think the only way we can have a better world is by giving up the opportunities to the people that actually can make the most out of them. You know, it's sometimes we think like people in a less advantageous position are there because they want to or something like that. But really, if they could, they would be doing amazing things. So I think it's really important to open that gate and give them access to knowledge that I think can change their life and modify completely communities that are kind of marginated by either social conflict or some some other like my global factor. So I'm super excited to see that you're also on that same line of trying to include or to give access to people to knowledge that can transform their life, that can give them a new outlook of their future and their potential career. And I think that's something that gave me like a two years ago. I was like after college, I get all this pressure from my family to be in a big pharma company or to be doing science. And since I was just doing chatbots, they were like, "Oh, that's nothing related to biotechnology. Why you are not phoning chips or something?" But but uh, um, Dan showed me this industry and the possibility of becoming a CRA and this insight about what's clinical research about. And even though when I was in college, I had these theoretical notions of the different phases of drug development. Actually, getting to know about the regulatory submissions and the consent forms and all these documentation required to start and conduct a study actually gave me a clear view of where I wanted to head, and that I think helped me and land somehow this position in clinical research.
Awesome.
Wow, you never know how big is the impact that you're creating out there until you listen somebody like you.
Yeah.
Probably Dan don't know that his impact is international.
Yeah, definitely. He has a great content, and I'm really happy that he's supporting this movement of inclusion and and breaking this disparity that we talk about in the community.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm curious, given your background and how you ended up in research and your travel, all that stuff, it's definitely very different compared to most researchers that I've came across. You have a very international background. And so I was curious, you're enjoying your current position, the flexibility that it gives you. But what do you plan for your future? I mean, are you looking to stay in research, or are you looking to, excuse me, create anything for yourself? Or
Yeah, actually, I do. I'm really into becoming clinical data scientist. Now that I work in data management, I'm learning a lot about the data retrieval and data exploration techniques. So I want to keep uh, pushing through that same line and start performing perhaps more analytics with the data and setting dashboards and making forecasts. And one of my fields of interest is computational biology. I attended a course in the Institut Curie in Paris about systems biology, and I learned there about single cell RNA sequencing and all these projects that are having a huge impact, like the Human Cell Atlas project that it's looking to profile each and every cell in our body in order to have a really clear understanding of what's health and what and how disease look compared to it. So I plan to continue my formation as a scientist. This year, I plan to apply for a program in Buenos Aires in data mining and knowledge discovery, and perhaps performing there some bioinformatics related research. Um, and who knows? I I really hope I can get to be a computational biologist or conduct or perform a PhD in that field. So yeah, I plan to keep on researching about um, um, performing research and being an authority someday in this field and in data management, and perhaps, I don't know, starting a startup or offering these solutions to CROs and pharmaceutical companies.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that sounds very wonderful.
Yes, it really does. It really does. And I think that's also amazing. You know, being, how do you say, like ambitious and going out there and making yourself, available to these resources. Because I mean, I know Monica and Chris can agree, and Dan, I know he's not here, but I know he'd agree too. A lot of the times, uh, there's free resources out there. There's knowledge out there. You just need to find it. You need to look for it. And especially, being a minority, there's a lot of assistance out there, and there's a lot of options and opportunity. And so, we hope to bring this know-how or this awareness to our members, so that you don't just have to be at a site, you don't just have to be a or CRC. You can go that route, or a clinical data coordinator, and you can move up and you can continue educating, and you can move forward and end up being the owner. You can end up being the pioneer in research, and on top of that, also be the forefront of Latinos, right? You can build bridge the gap in assisting other Latinos up, and gapping that diversity and the inclusion and all of that. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say that we're probably going to be seeing some really great things from you in the future. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's a pretty awesome story. I'm so glad we got connected.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley.
Actually, I have a
Thank you,
And
question.
Gwen.
Javier, I'm just wondering, what does your typical day look like in data management?
Well, I actually work from home. I help in the mornings with my chores and cooking, uh, taking out the garbage, cleaning my bedroom. That's actually what how my day starts usually. And after I end up with that, I connect um, to my computer, perhaps complete some trainings, and then I start reviewing my mailbox. Sometimes new protocols come in. I start reviewing the protocols, start building what is called the ECRF. That is the series of uh, forms and the visits and forms that patients will go through and will need to fill in with the information collected throughout the visit, the study conduct. So I start building the forms. Um, I also perform a lot of data review or of the already set up studies. I go and check each patient ECRF, and there I write queries about any inconsistencies or things that are not complete or need clarification. I also gave a lot of training to newcomers, to new team members, teach them about how the tools we use to compose the CRF actually work. Also, I perform a lot of SDTM mapping. Once the trials are live, we need to parse the information in our database uh, into an unorganized and already as a standardized way of presenting the information to the regulatory authorities. This is called the study data tabulation model, and it's the way we arrange the information to make it easier for the reviewer of the study data, either on EMA or FDA, to actually go through the information and see if the drug actually has the or meets the safety and efficacy criteria. And I also perform like data transfers to biostatisticians to so they can start performing this statistical analysis. Also, I contact CRAs to make them aware of any inconsistencies found in ECRF. And since we in data management cannot have like these direct contact with site, we CRAs are like these middlemen that help us reach sites in order to correct certain um, confusions that they may have during the data entry process.
So you study coordinators out there watching, those queries that are generated in EDC may have come from Javier, just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's really a really interesting part, because you're like eyes behind the scenes, right? We don't see doctors, we don't see patients, we just see data in the electronic data capture systems, but either when it's just figures or names or questions answered, I think it's still we can have a really good grasp of how the study is being conducted, just from seeing how the CRF are getting completed.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Yeah, I work for a global CRO, and it surprises me how much data management go through on a daily basis. I mean, I do a lot of review on my own, but I mean, I've seen the amount of queries that come out on a daily, and it's a lot. But I mean, yeah, like you said, you're definitely the eyes behind everything. You're catching things that the RSMs and CRAs aren't catching. So yeah, your role is most definitely very, very important. And so anybody that likes the idea of CRC, CRA, but not so much the interactiveness of patients and PIs, but you like the data, this is definitely a role you need to consider to
travel as well.
Yeah.
Travel as well. A lot of people frown on the travel of CRA. So.
Oh yeah, the travel, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I found the clinical operation way more demanding in a lot of sense. As you mentioned, they have to travel a lot. They have to meet with patients, meet with investigators that are not always that accessible, or they're super busy doing something else, and they have to like pursue them and try to catch their attention in order to clarify some matters. So I think that social interaction can sometimes be stressful. So the fact that you can work with your computer and communicate really clearly and effectively throughout email or any messaging platform, I think takes out that stress of having to pursue the PI that has been really absent for some reason, and then it's your responsibility to give answers and you're not getting them. So I really think that's the most stressful part of being a CRA, that you have to manage people, but sometimes that people don't always respond as you expected, and it's your work to actually get results, right? So I think data management, it's more easy on that sense. Of course, we have constant meetings with the sponsors and project managers and different stakeholders. But not having to be at site, I think really frees you from that stress. So going through all the source data documentation and having to actually sometimes confront certain people that may not be conducting the research as it's supposed to.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Sometimes it's not very easy, especially, you know, if the site coordinator or the, like you said, the PI, they're busy, or, you know, it's just issue of communication and all that. So I most definitely agree. Awesome.
Well, I mean, this world has a lot of different flavors for every different taste. So, so whoever that likes more the interaction, who have that other part, and the ones that don't and prefer to be behind the scenes, like Javier, then we have it too. So it's a matter of choice and taste. And I have another question. This is unrelated, but you say you live in Europe, in Vienna, was it?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
German?
attended. Yeah, I was applying for this program in regenerative medicine. So I got invited to present some tests, and in the week I was there, I attended this research center called Vienna Biocenter. That it's a research center in conjunction with the University of Vienna and Bollinger Erdenheim, this big pharma Austrian company. And I think that's one of the biggest and I think one of the most impressive laboratories I have visited. It's a huge facility with anything you would need to perform biotech research. So that was, I think, one of the most incredible experiences I have had in academia, because I had the opportunity to meet up with people from all over the world, people from Denmark, from Paris, from UK, from really high-end institutions like Oxford, Harvard, Cambridge, and all these why they're called Ivy League institutions in the US, and being able to share with them at the end of the event, socialize, drink a glass of wine, and talk about their projects. I think it opens my mind and to how an international or global career it could be like, and motivate me to actually pursue
That's
that goal.
That's exactly where my question was towards. So, because there is a lot of people, let's say in Latin America, or I don't know, somewhere in the world, that they are looking for a job opportunity, and then you have that you are in Mexico, and your job is basically, if I'm not wrong, you're working with people in United States and also in Europe, correct?
Mostly in Europe, yes. I work for a data management department in Ukraine, and the company is from Slovakia, but we
Oh,
always
okay.
see trials from locations like Austria, Poland, Hungary, the UK, Germany, and Russia, even. So it's interesting to be part of a global team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful, but that show us how globalized we are right now. But my next question is, obviously you have you have your education, but besides that, you have the language. You speak Spanish, you speak English. Do you speak any other language?
Just a bit of German.
Okay, but which language did open the doors for the rest of the world? for you?
English, most definitely. I was in Vienna, and I think everyone understood English perfectly. Vienna is this really cosmopolitan capital, so you will find people from around the globe, and I think that makes really common to for English to actually be the main um, language for communication. The doctor I was talking to that I met was actually Ukrainian. So if we didn't have that in common, it would be impossible to actually connect.
Big. Yeah.
So yeah, I think learning languages will also give you a better chance to enter this industry, because I think at least most of the communications are in this language, and being able to write your manager or a director in operations and ask or apply for the job will actually make uh, um, will be an essential part of the application, regardless of your background or the position you're applying.
So I'm going to piggyback on Monica's question there. So you mentioned a number of different countries that you're working with, Russia, Hungary, and so on. When you generate a query, are you generating the query in that language, or how's that done?
That's
No,
a
actually,
great question.
they are actually obliged to complete the CRF in English.
Oh, so you're generating the queries in English too then?
Yeah, and
Oh.
even if we catch some German or some other language in the CRF, we have to query that and ask them to translate to English, because I think it's a requirement for FDA submissions, and perhaps MI has this language as the global standard for research.
So that further enhances what you had just said about English, how important it is to be successful in this industry.
Yeah, definitely. Regardless of your location, your nationality, your academic background, I think if you don't have the ability to communicate properly in this language, will definitely um, drag you down and will maybe make your path into getting into clinical research way more harder.
Hmm.
Wow. Well, I learned something new today.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Oh, wow.
Great. Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
But that's wonderful. I mean, now we know that having obviously your own language and then English is a great asset. Always is to have a second language is a great asset.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much, Javier. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome getting to know you and hearing your story. Super inspiring, honestly. I mean, it opens my eyes to opportunities that I wasn't necessarily aware of as far as routes were concerned. So thank you. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been great. We hope to see you on our webinars. We feel that, you know, your knowledge is invaluable to our members. And, you know, if you know anybody else that's in clinical research, please spread the word. Again, we like to provide free resources for everybody all over, most specifically, you know, all ethnicities, but our focus, of course, is on Latinos, right? So thank you so much for being here. And I know I speak for everybody along with Dan that we appreciate your time.
Yes,
And
thank you for your time.
yeah,
Very much.
No, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I also work with people in Colombia, and it's amazing to see if they can. I will definitely let them know about this movement, and perhaps you could talk with them as well. One of them is it's a data manager, and actually she's getting recruited by Bayer in the UK. So she's
Oh, wow.
moving right now with the company, but perhaps she also has a really interesting story that could inspire and share with the community. So I will
Oh,
share them.
thank you.
Thank you so much. We
Tanisha,
really
thank you,
appreciate
thank you.
that. Yes, the more that we can reach out to, the better, most definitely. But thank you so, so much, and we will definitely be in touch.
Thank you, Ashley. It
Thank
has
you.
been a
Thank you,
pleasure
Javier.
talking with all of you. I send my kindness greetings to all of you, and I wish you a really nice weekend.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend as
Same
well,
to you.
Javier.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Javier, before you finish,
Before you go,
Yeah.
before you go, yeah,
we'll stop the
I
recording, Chris.
think we should do this in Spanish.